Welcome, 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 everybody. Thank you so much. If you are joining us, thank you so much for being here. It is 6:30 on the clock right now, Central Standard Time, and we're getting ready to speak to my special guest, which is over here. But before we get started, I wanted to go over a few things, and I actually have my disclaimer on a piece of paper. You would think I would memorize this thing, but I haven't yet. But I want to talk a little bit about what Hey Girl Hey is all about. Hey Girl Hey is really about beauty transformation from the inside out. It is bringing mental health professions, therapists, and anyone who has a story to tell about how they overcame any type of pain or trauma. This platform is to really set that tone and to have that conversation, because sometimes we're not having it and we're not being open about some of the things that we're dealing with. And so you have an opportunity to ask questions and to engage with us during this open dialogue conversation. Also, I want to let you know that Hey Girl Hey is a platform where we discuss mental health and learn from professionals and those with their own experiences. If you believe that you need any type of help or support, please reach out to a professional. The information shared here is not in lieu of getting professional support. And so just want to make that clear because I don't want anybody thinking that this is in lieu for them really seeking the help that they really need. And if this conversation helps you to see that you do need professional help, that is the goal. That is the purpose, to really set the tone for that and really make you think through those things. Anyways, I want to make sure that we get all the time in on talking to my special guest here. So let me introduce her. Her name is Lisa Bodden. Did I say that right?
Litza.
Litza. Okay.
Yes,
All
that
right.
T in the middle, girl.
Yes. Yes. She is a licensed professional counselor, supervisor, speaker, and life coach who is on a mission to challenge the stereotypes and stigmas surrounding mental health. Now, I'll tell you this, that she also has multiple years of experience working with adults, teens, and children in various settings, and is the owner of her private practice, Shining Lights Counseling LLC. Through her private practice, she is changing the face of mental health and educating people on the importance of practicing self-care. Come on with it. At her practice, she provides services for people who are experiencing problems with anxiety, depression, grief, and other issues in their lives. She is empowers her clients by shining a light on their inner strengths to help them live a better, more enriched life. Litza
There you go.
truly wants everyone to let their inner light shine bright.
Yes.
Did I did I go over everything correctly?
Yes, you did.
Awesome, awesome. So I want to, first off, I want to tell y'all a little bit about myself. If this is your first time watching, and if you're watching the replay, just make sure you comment down below and comment replay. And thank you for joining us. We're so grateful and thankful that you are here. So here's the thing. If you don't know my story, for those of you who are new to my channel and knowing who I am and Hey Girl Hey, so in 2010 I experienced a very traumatic experience where I was stabbed 20 times in my home by a somewhat close family member. And because of that, I went through my own healing process, having to go see a counselor, went through challenges of isolation. And that's really where Hey Girl Hey was birthed out of, because I was vulnerable on an Instagram live to talk about the isolation that I went through and how I had to talk through some of those things with a counselor, a professional counselor. It was free of service at the time, because I had a case with Tarrant County, and so they were able to give me. I was a part of
Yeah.
victim services assistance or something like that. And as a part of that, I was able to go see a counselor at no charge for me. But it was helpful because I did want to move on. I wanted to live life as normal as I could. And unfortunately, I had the hard reality of there was some things that needed to be broken on the inside of me in order for me to move forward. And actually dealing with the emotions that I was dealing with, because I never seen anybody else deal with something so traumatic in my life that I didn't even know how to process it. And so in the month of November, there's a big campaign around no to certain things, like putting no into boundaries. And I want to, share with y'all this. The person who did this to me was a very close, somewhat close family member. And when I went through that, I really had to end up cutting ties. And it was abruptly. Like it wasn't like a smooth transition, like,
Yeah.
hey, okay, I
It
recognize.
never is.
And it was hard. And it was difficult. It was an emotionally, so not only was I emotionally hurt from the pain and the trauma that I dealt with, I also was hurt from the fact that now I had to cut these people off that I've known for years. At that time, my daughter was 8 years old. So like about 7 or 8. And that's a long time to build a relationship with people and now say, you're done.
Yeah.
I can't trust you. So, Lisa, can you talk to us about that a little bit about this
Sure. I mean,
boundaries?
it's hard to set boundaries, especially with family,
Yeah.
but it's something that's needed, especially after a trauma, right?
Yeah.
Because when you go through something so traumatic, you have to separate yourself to find healing.
Yes.
Right? And if you're seeing this person or people that remind you of that person that hurt you
Yeah.
constantly, it's going to be very, very hard to heal from it.
Mhm.
And you could actually be triggered every single time.
Yeah.
And when I
Absolutely.
say trigger, you might physically go through some of the feelings you went through during the trauma.
Mm.
So a lot of people do not connect the physical aspect with the mental,
Mhm.
right? And when you go through something very traumatic like you did,
Mhm.
you can actually feel
Yeah.
those things in your body happening again if you see that person or family members that remind you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because it was, I think within that time frame, after it happened, a lot of those individuals were asking me like, they understood, but they felt like because we had that relationship that, well, can we at least talk? Like, and I even to this day, now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever addressed it with them at all. Just
Mm,
abruptly set this boundary and just said, no, I can't do this with y'all because unfortunately these people that's y'all's family, like
yeah,
real family. And I I I can't do this right now. I don't trust y'all as much as I know that y'all love me as a daughter, but I'm not your daughter. And that is it was painful.
yeah,
Um and it was hard for them. And I never I and so how do you deal with that? Thinking about the boundaries, like you're not trying to offend the other person, but they get offended.
yeah,
Period.
yeah. And but the thing is, I think some of that feeling of them being offended is more guilt
Mhm.
than anything.
Yeah.
Right? And that's
Yeah.
something they have to work through though. You're
Yeah.
the victim. And sometimes we have to remember that, right? Like
Yeah.
when we setting these boundaries, I'm the one who went through this pain and suffering.
Yes.
And so I have to take care of me. So I'm
Yes.
making myself a priority by setting those boundaries.
Yeah.
And so first of all, we have to remind ourselves that it's okay to set those boundaries. And some people might push back and some people might not like it. But
Yeah.
that's okay. It's
Yeah.
not your issue to fix whatever they're feeling.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it sounds harsh, but you have to put yourself first, especially after something traumatic like that.
Yeah.
And then second of all, the family members have to work through their own feelings. And
Yeah.
again, that's where that's coming from, that pushback or that can I still talk to them and all
Yeah.
those questions is
Mhm.
them working through their feelings about what happened. Because if, for example, in your situation, okay, now this person is dangerous or this person is capable of
Yeah.
doing these things.
Yeah.
So how do I feel as a family member about
Yeah.
this person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
And
and
then
that came
culturally
up.
makes it worse too.
Yeah.
In certain cultures, right? Like example, the African American culture,
Yeah.
everything that happens in the home stays in the home, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's another thing. So who are you telling? Why are you telling everybody
Yeah.
this happened?
Yeah.
Is all those feelings are coming up for the family members as well. So not only the person that's traumatized gets affected, is everybody surrounding the situation.
That is so good because at the time, I was in such a victim mentality that whoever else was affected, it didn't even matter to me because I was just like, y'all weren't in my home. Y'all didn't have to deal with what I just dealt with.
And it's
And
okay to feel that way though. I mean, especially when it first happened,
yeah,
we have all rights to have those emotions. And I think we
yeah,
feel bad because we have those emotions. Like you just went through it. You haven't
yeah,
even having a chance to had a chance to heal from that situation.
yeah. So, what are some ways that we can start to set boundaries? Let's, thinking about, pain or trauma. I think sometimes when people think of trauma, they think they go to the vision of something physically
Yeah,
happened. But trauma, what I'm learning from a lot of, the mental health professions, that trauma could be a bad relationship, and not even just an abusive relationship. It could just be a bad breakup. And
yeah,
that's traumatizing to the emotion, and to you, because you built a relationship with all these people who
yeah,
are connected to the person that you broke up with. And now you have to set these boundaries because I need to heal.
yeah.
I was the one who got broken up with this person, and now I have to heal. And that's what I felt like happened. So, what are some tips or some things that you provide to your clients when you advise them to how to set boundaries?
I always tell them to be honest about what they need, first of all,
Okay.
because I think we're always trying to protect other people. But
Yeah.
again, we need to protect ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So first saying, these are the things I need, and
Hmm.
these are the boundaries I need to set. And and really put your foot down and on most of the boundaries,
Yeah.
right? Do not shift it just because some people are gonna push back because they're
Yeah.
not used to you setting boundaries, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's okay. Let them push back, but you need to stick to your guns
Yeah.
and say, this is how I feel,
Yeah.
right? And try
Yeah.
to have those conversations. And if somebody pushes back and says, or you're just being too emotional, or you're just being to this, you can
Mm.
always say to them, these are my feelings, and
Yeah.
you're minimizing my feelings by saying that.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
explaining to them, you're minimizing my feelings. This is
Yeah.
how I feel, and these are the boundaries I need to set.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. So I'm gonna kick us over into something relatable, just because I think during my recovery and healing process, I recognized through the conversation with the counselor that there was other emotions that came up. It
Mm,
wasn't just the emotion of the fact that I was traumatized, that happened to me,
yeah,
but other emotions of like generations, the pain. And I had to uncover those, I had to break them, and I had to get to a place to pray for the person who actually did this to me. But if it wasn't for my support system, I don't know, based off of what I know from my family, being raised by a Hispanic father, they hold a lot of stuff in.
they
And
do.
they either hold it in or it comes out in anger. And so immediately those things started to come up. And I could have, and to be full transparent, it did come up. I was angry, but I also knew something inside of me said, I have to do something different. I don't know what the different is. And I found myself in places, and this was like probably, a couple, I say couple, but like a few years later, that
Mhm.
I got into a position of praying for this individual. Because if they mentally got to a place to be able to do something this extreme, to take a human life, I don't know what's going on through their minds. Like,
Yeah.
for me, that was, so I want to talk a little bit about some of the pain that we may have taken on from our parents or our parents'
Mm.
parents because they got it from somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think it's important because I did recognize that, but that was later on. But I did notice it, and it was alarming because I knew that that was something I didn't want to give to my children. Can I sit here and say that sometimes does my sassy ness comes out? I'm not going to sit here and lie. It does, but
Mhm.
it's recognizing it and saying I want to show my people something different. So I just want to
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, I want to say it's very brave of you to want to change, right? It's so easy
Yeah,
to continue the stuff that you recognize. It's
yeah,
easy to continue that, right? That
yeah,
the generations of stuff, because again, my mom did it, my grandma did it, my great
yeah.
grandmother did it, so why not me? It's easy,
Mhm, mhm,
right? I
mhm.
learned this stuff through time, and it's a lot harder to first of all recognize it, and second of all to
Yeah,
even do something about it.
yeah,
Because again, you're gonna get pushback.
yeah.
Why are you doing this when our family continue? This is normal,
Yes,
right?
yes. No, I've heard that, that's good that you say that because 'cause I'm sure people who are watching, they can resonate with that, that this is what I've seen my mother do, or this is what I've seen my father do. I heard it in a conversation that I had with someone. Well, this is what my parents showed me to do.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
in my mind, the response that I was getting was that, well, I'm just going to forgive the person. I'm just going to move on. And I was like, well, we're not addressing the fact that you have an emotion too. And there needs to be some forgiveness in your own space. There needs to be some care emotionally for you.
yeah.
And that's alarming to me because sometimes what happens, and I don't know if you can speak, I'm sure you can speak to this, but we try to move on way too fast because that's what I wanted to do. I
Yeah.
wanted to go back to work. And so why do we want to do that?
Well, because who wants to deal with all that baggage, right? And
Yeah.
pettiness. And then worse, if it's generational trauma, is baggage from other people that they
Yeah.
pushed onto you now. So now you have luggage, baggage,
Yeah.
everything. You're
Yeah.
holding on to family's past stuff plus your own. And
Mhm.
it's accumulated. So
Yeah.
it's hard to want to face that and sit in it, right? And really
Yeah.
deal with it, or even go to counseling and talk about it. Because a
Yeah.
lot of years of stuff that you've been pent up and holding in, right?
Yeah.
So I honestly feel that once you recognize it, that okay, this stuff has been going on in my family forever,
Mhm.
or I noticed this in my parents and I want to stop it, is the first have that conversation with yourself of
Yeah.
what some things I want to change. Because not everything is bad, okay?
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
the same way we have generational trauma and bad things that we get from our ancestors or our parents or family, the
Mhm.
same way we have good things too, right? So
Yeah.
I'll say even hold on to those good things and focus on that,
Yeah.
and then change the things that need to change for your future to be better.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
only your own future, but then if you have kids as well,
Yeah.
make those changes so that
Yeah.
you don't continue that pattern.
Yeah. So one of the things that, and that's really good because it was the first step was to recognize that it was a problem. And then once you recognize it's a problem, what would you advise somebody to do? Like, okay, now you're taking the first step. You recognize that it's a problem.
Mhm.
What's next? Because sometimes people don't know what to do next. They acknowledge that this has been happening for years. My
Yeah,
mom smoked cigarettes, my dad smoked cigarettes, my grandfather smoked cigarettes. Like, I'm smoking cigarettes. I mean,
yeah,
what's the problem? And I'm just using that as, just
Yeah,
a
that's a good example though.
yeah, the tangible example to help the listeners understand that it's because we have this mindset that we think, well, they did it, it must be okay, so I'm gonna do it
Yeah.
too. So, but then once you recognize, like, oh
This
crap,
is unhealthy
this is
for
unhealthy
me.
for me. Yes, for me,
Yeah.
physically. What's the next thing? Because sometimes some people don't know what that is.
Well, the first thing is to see how is this like, okay, once you recognize it's an issue,
Yeah.
how is this affecting me in my life? Right?
Mm.
Make inventory,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then see how you can make small changes.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
okay, the perfect example with the cigarettes, right? Okay, I noticed that my mom smokes every time she's upset.
Yeah.
And then it started off as that, and now she just smokes all the time. And it's
Yeah.
affecting her health. So I know it's unhealthy for me. So what some changes I can do? Okay, instead of when I'm upset, smoke a cigarette, what are some other things I can do? And
Mhm.
and really try to work through what are some other things I can do now. If you need assistance with that, that's where counseling comes in.
Yeah. Yeah. Or some type of support group
Yeah,
or
support.
something.
It don't have to be individual counseling. I mean, there's support groups for everything now,
Yeah.
And or just getting support from some accountability partner can help as
Yes.
well. I
Yes.
notice that I do this. Can you check me every time I do this?
Yeah.
You
Yeah, and
know?
that's great. That's funny that you say that because I have friends that do that. Like, I don't even have to ask them about accountability. They just in it. And but whenever they do see me about to escalate or go to another level, because again, I recognize that that is something that can happen quickly. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, my past life, I was fighting all the time. But so it's easy for me to go into it at ease. There's
No, we all have things that we do as negative coping skills, right?
yes.
Like for me, it was overeating,
Yeah.
right? So I have to like set boundaries when it comes for myself when
Yeah.
it comes
Yeah.
to food and just deal with whatever the issue is, then going straight to something easy
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
can just grab it because I saw that all my life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the crazy part of it, in my family, everybody's skinny, nobody's unhealthy. I'm the big girl in the family. And so it's like, okay, they can use that coping skill and it works for them in a way.
Yeah.
But me, it makes even bigger effect. Not
Yeah.
only am I not dealing with my issues, but then also I'm gaining weight and I'm getting unhealthy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you have to really take inventory. How is this action affecting me?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so true. So true. Because when I think about how I had to move forward after going through something so traumatic, because maybe your trauma is a bad divorce, maybe your trauma is a bad breakup, maybe your trauma was a car accident, I don't
Mhm.
know, but whatever that may be, you get to a point where you do some self inventory of
Yeah.
yourself. And sometimes so I'll say this, like, my self inventory wasn't healthy at that time when I was
Mm.
doing it. It was more of how could I have let something like this happen?
Mhm.
What was I about to do? Like, I felt guilty for the actions that I was getting ready to do leading up to the event.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought, because my mindset was in a very bad place, I would say. I don't know how to say it, but that's what brought this thing on. So I
Yeah.
started to
Yeah.
feel guilty and started making me think that I'm the reason why. And I dealt with that for quite some time.
It sounds like then more than guilt, it sounds like shame. And there's a
Yes.
difference,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, okay. Okay.
There's
So
a
what's the
difference
difference
between
between
because like to me, okay, if I do something wrong and I feel guilty about it, okay, I'm gonna change my actions,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And to something positive.
Yeah.
Now with shame is like something that's like a cloud looming over you almost.
Mm.
And it's not you can't just get rid of it like that.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
like I'm just gonna do this positive thing. You still have the shame lingering.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, guilt. Okay, I feel guilty. I did this. Let me apologize. Let me change my actions.
Yeah, let
Let
me
me
do
do
something about it.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shame is that cloud that stays over you and
Mm,
lingers and makes you feel bad, and you always feeling bad about this action that you
yeah,
did.
yeah, yeah, that's very it sat with me for quite some time,
Yeah, and that's
before I
something that
got
people have to process.
yes, because I did have to process it. I had to get to a place of saying, "Okay, Brandy, that it wasn't because of that. That's not it. There's something else which you probably will never know. You don't know what it was. But now that you are healed and in a position to be able to help other women, let's go out and do, the assignment to
Yeah,
really start touching the lives of other women and sharing your story and speaking to women who need help, to see somebody who's overcame, to say
yeah.
there is a way out, there is a way to do this, I can get through this and I will get through this. I
And
remember,
by you doing that, you're modeling what you learned, and
yes,
other women can see that, right? And also your kids.
yeah,
I always tell people, when you make these positive changes, you're definitely stopping that generational pattern because your kids are seeing you model it. They're actually
yeah,
physically seeing it, right? Or other people in
hmm,
your family. So they're seeing an example of change
yeah,
and the
yeah.
benefits of it too.
Yeah. And that's a part of, really that generational pain and trauma, to say, I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to be the one to change. And there's work in the
Yeah.
change.
Definitely,
So,
definitely a lot of work now. It's not like I'm gonna change. Poof, and I wish.
okay, I mean, it don't happen like that.
It don't
When you
happen
make
like
a
that.
decision to do something different, honey, there's some work in the process,
There's
okay?
always some work.
Always some work. So don't think this is
Yeah,
gonna be easy street. No, just because you
yeah.
made a decision. But the first step is to make the decision and to break that thing and to say, okay, what can I do different? What do I need to learn that's the opposite, that is good for me? So that I can
And
move
that's the
forward.
thing, right? Actually, because it's so easy when you get triggered again
Oh yeah.
to
Oh
go
yeah.
back to those old coping skills,
Yeah.
right? That are not good for you.
Yeah.
So recognizing, okay, I easily go back to these things. What are some easy things I could do
Yeah.
when I'm feeling triggered? Because it's
Yeah.
gonna happen.
Oh yeah. Child, listen. Yeah.
There's always gonna be somebody that's gonna bring you back to that time,
Hmm.
and you're gonna be like, "Oh snap! Do I do the easy route of
Yeah.
my old coping skills, or do I do this healthy stuff that I learned?" Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see, which one am I gonna respond to? You start doing this, like, wait a minute,
Yeah,
which
it
one am I?
really is like that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so when I went after going through something as traumatic as I went through, I remember this conversation reminds me about a trigger that I did have. But I want to say it was a good trigger. So I was watching the news and it was probably down the street from, probably down the freeway from me. And I
Mhm.
remember seeing a woman had been stabbed to death at State Farm. That I can't,
Mm.
and it was her husband who did it. Came to her job, stabbed her to death. And I was moved by that. I like cried because I understood, I like knew
Yeah.
what pain she went through leading up to her death. And
I
I
believe
started
it.
praying for the family. I started praying for the husband because it was like it was a trigger, but I felt like it was a good trigger for me because I understood. I empathized with that woman.
Yeah.
Even though her life was gone, there was kids involved. Like she had kids. And I'm like, I understand that. I'm like, "Oh my god," like, I just got really emotional, and so I I don't know if that was a trigger, but it definitely was for me, but it was a good
It sounds
trigger.
like it. Yeah.
It was a good trigger for
Well,
me
at
to
least
be
it
able.
brought up those feelings, right?
Yes.
And you recognize that what that woman was going through, at least, and then also that maybe even the fact that you survived it. She
Yeah.
didn't, you know?
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
was just so touched and moved by that, and that story always sticks with me to this day because I just remember the story and getting it on
Mhm.
the news. But this was great. I know we're right at time. I is before we move into the end of this thing, is there anything that you want to give to the women who are listening or somebody who's watching the replay? Is there anything you want to say to them?
I definitely want to say is that to take care of themselves. I'm a
Mm,
big advocate for self care.
yeah,
And the reason why I push self care so much is that if you're not taking care of yourself, there's no way you're going to be able to have the energy to pour in and pour into so many people. And
yeah,
especially if you're a woman, women, we pour into our kids, our jobs,
yeah,
everybody.
yeah,
And we forget ourselves, especially in certain cultures.
yeah,
I know definitely in the Hispanic culture because I'm Latina, Afro Latina, and then also in the African American culture, we're like, it's expected for
yeah,
us to pour in everything and
yeah,
never get back to ourselves.
yeah.
And I always tell my clients when there's you're on the plane and there's turbulence, they always tell you put on your mask first and then
Mm-hmm.
put on the kids and everybody around you's mask.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why is that if you are not breathing and you're asphyxiating, there's no way you could help everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's the
Yes.
same thing with real life, right?
Yeah.
You need to take care of you first. It is not being selfish, it's just survival, actually. You need that
Mm-hmm.
to be able to pour into your kids. You can't pour from an empty vessel. All right. So practice self-care. And I'm not talking about getting your nails done and your hair done. That's nice. I
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
getting my
Yeah.
hair done too and getting
Okay.
massages and all that. But
Yeah.
I'm talking about daily self-care. I'm talking about,
Yeah.
prayer. I'm talking
Yeah.
about drinking water,
Yeah.
eating right. That's
Yeah.
daily self-care.
Yeah.
Having a moment of silence.
Girl.
Deep
Ooh,
breathing.
child,
I mean,
child, listen.
basic things that are free.
Okay. Because listen, I done found a couple of times I just sat in my closet and I was like, please don't come in here.
Yeah,
Just don't come in here. I don't want
and
to
that's
talk.
fine.
I don't
That's
want
a
to.
moment of self-care for you.
And it's funny because I did that to my daughter today because she was talking to me and she wanted to talk about something about regarding candles, and I was like, "Don't talk to me."
Like
And
right
she was like,
now,
"Mom, that is so mean." I was like, "I'm really not paying attention to you right now. I'm not talking.
I
I don't.
need my
I'm just.
moment. This is
I'm
my
in a
time.
zone." And I just, but you're absolutely right. And there's a lot of things a lot of things out there about self-care, and most of them are really about, going to go get a massage, going to go get, relax. But you're right. Sometimes it's taking deep breaths, just breathing to get
Yeah,
full oxygen into your body. Mentally, just being there and being in silence and allowing yourself to
be
hear.
mindful of the moment.
Yes. I remember back in the day, I was a part of a group called Mindful Eating. And so we
Mm,
would sit at our desk and we would sit there and just eat, be quiet. And they were like, "What do you feel? What texture?" And I thought it was so weird. I was like, "What are these people doing?" But I got the concept of it,
yeah, yeah,
understanding that it's just being mindful of what's going on because when you get a chance to be still, you actually get an opportunity to listen to your body,
yeah.
listen to what's going on, to see what is. I mean, I was sitting in the car just now, probably about an hour ago, and I felt exhausted. Well, what I was feeling is I only had a slice of pizza today. I drank a bunch of water and I worked out and did, a 500 calorie workout.
So
My
yeah,
daughter was like,
you
she
was
was like,
on
"Mom,
low.
you ain't
You
ate
was on
nothing."
P.
So, once I ate, I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
So, to what you're saying is that it is real. It is, taking time for yourself. I booked a hotel all by myself and I sat there and I
Yes.
watched TV and did nothing and didn't think about anything. And so sometimes that's self-care, Yes, you got to pay for that. It's not free, but it's for you to just have a space for you to
Yes.
think. Sometimes what I do is that I take a notebook and I just write down things that come across my mind to let me just get it out. And sometimes it's just that. Maybe you sit in the closet and you take your notebook and you just write stuff and be okay with
Yeah.
that. It's
Yeah.
free of charge. Free of charge. The notebook is probably $1. It's free.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well,
So there's
thank
so
you.
many ways.
Yeah,
Be
no, because
creative, people.
yeah, no, no, and you're right, because I do some of them. I
Yeah.
spend time in the car and I speak out or outwardly say what I'm grateful for,
Yes.
and it just brings me into a different space of humility, gratitude,
Definitely.
thanksgiving, and it brings me into worship. Like I found myself lead because you're going over like, thank you God that I'm able to afford my gas. Thank you for the fact that I have the vehicle that I have. And that just
Yeah.
takes you to another
It's so
level,
powerful.
you know? And so those are the things about self-care. Like those are the things that I think sometimes I don't see, to your point, we probably don't see enough of. But what is the free stuff we can do when it comes to self-care? Yeah, you can go
Yeah.
get your nails done. Everybody can go get their nails done. So what
Exactly.
do? When they trying to
Exactly.
get self-care. So no, this was good. This is really good. Thank you so much for taking me through a lot of what I went through, setting down these boundaries, talking about the generational pain and trauma that we take on, and then leading into a little bit of self care and how important it is. Now, is there anything that you're offering to your right now? No, Black Friday is around the corner, y'all. I made the mistake thinking that Black Friday was today. Ooh, child, it was just
Lord.
yesterday. But, is there any products or services that you're offering right now?
Well, I'm not offering any services in particular that are like, I have my private practice. So
Yes.
anybody is welcome to, go to my website, www.shininglightsllc.com. And they could come, if they want services, counseling services, and also, to follow me on Shining Lights LLC on Facebook or on Instagram or all the, social media platforms.
Yes.
Coming up in December 5th, I'll be speaking a little bit more about boundaries
Okay.
at the Sunday Social Tea is a show, and I'll be posting more information about that on social
Yes.
media platforms. So please come out and check me out. Yes.
Yes. Well, awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. Love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to all your viewers, my viewers, and anybody who watches the replay again. If you're watching this and you're watching it later, make sure you comment down below and put replay so we can
Please
know that
do.
you watched it. Anyways, I will be out on Black Friday. So Black Friday, I will not be on, which is the 26th. I think it's the 26th. 20, I think it's the 26th.
Yeah.
I will not, Hey Girl, Hey, right. Hey Girl, Hey will not be on, but we will be back on, I think it's December 3rd. And I'm actually gonna have my pastor's wife on, and
Exciting.
yeah, it's exciting. She's gonna talk a little bit about how she had to get therapy herself, and talking through how she had to see a Christian therapist that really led conversations into biblical, taking it into real world situations and
That's
things that she's
good.
dealing with. So y'all check me out. 2 Fridays from now, December 3rd, and we'll be back on. And her name is, we call her Lady Low, but her name is Jasmine Lowe. She'll be joining us. So, anyways, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see y'all. Hey, girl, hey, on that Friday.
Hey, girl, hey.